Well, first things first. Everybody smile. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be with you here today. I was in your seat about 7 years ago, which is a long time, but not too long ago for me. As Jeff mentioned, I'm the current founder of Candybox Marketing. We simply just like to make companies look good online, and co-founded Social Stage, and we've just recently been given the Facebook Marketing Solution Provider certificate. And so it's very exciting just seeing the progression in 7 very short years. And today I'd love to talk to you just about 2 very simple things I wish I thought about when I was a Sheridan grad. The first thing that I want to also bring up is that on top of these things in business, I also sit on 2 different boards. I've been able to visit 10 different developing countries in Africa and South America over the last couple of years. I've got a family. I've got 3 wonderful kids and an awesome wife. And so that's Darrell Keezer, 100%. If I were to think back into graduating Sheridan, I want to share a bit of my journey as you start yours. You start your journey, you're looking for a new career, there's a lot of new things coming your ways, and I remember going out, and I love the entrepreneurial spirit, and so I quickly went out and I decided I'm going to start my own business. I had a very thin business plan, probably about as thin as my speech here, and very quickly I was approached by one company, and they said, Darrell, we'd like to hire you, here's an offer. And then I found another company, and they said, Darrell, we'd like to hire you as well, here's an offer. So I didn't know what to do. From the, decade and a half of education that I'd never thought about the number that I'd be handed one day. I came to a point where I never even thought about my value as a person. And so today I want to talk to you about that value. And your value when you go out today is both your time, your efforts, your energies, your ideas. Something sometimes you never consider when you're going out and saying, what is my value? And so I did what anyone would do. I brought it to my prof. At the time it was David Knoll. And I said, David, is this a good number? And he said, well, Darrell, it's pretty good. So I said, all right. And the 2 offers that I had, it was very interesting. I had one company want to hire me as a project manager. And they said, we see your potential, we see your value, we really want you to work and grow in this space. And they offered me, we'll call it number 8. The second company offered me almost double what the first company did. And they said, you're going to be put in sales. And I said, interesting. They didn't see my value. They didn't understand who I was, and they wanted me to fulfill a job probably until now. And so I took a look at those 2 offers, and I decided to go with the lower one. And like any good worker, on my first day of work, I went to my computer, I opened up this fresh laptop, went to Google, where all good searches start, and I just said, define project manager, and I read the definition. I quickly realized I needed to manage projects and do that very well. And so I decided this is fantastic, and so we started managing projects. Within a couple weeks, they brought in a ton of clients. I had 2 developers programming away for an IT firm. And then I realized as I was managing these projects that no one was managing these developers. So I said, okay, I'm going to manage the developers. Within the next year, we had to hire on, I think, about 8 developers. I had to personally interview them and bring them on board. We were growing so quickly. I managed an IT team. I guess you would then call me an IT manager. It was not in my job description. But I found value in providing this for the company. I realized right at the beginning that my job description, the thing that they pinned to my wall at the beginning and said, you're a project manager, was not really my benchmark, but it was my baseline. And we need to think constantly about what our value is in every organization. When you go to work, if you go to work for someone or if you start your own company, what is your value? And go beyond it. After that, we had a wonderful company come in. We were doing so well, and our team grew, and the president one day stood up and said, Darrell's the most valuable person in the company, which was fantastic. Then we got acquired by a big other organization. Now they came in, looked at my job description, looked at my bid, and said, you were underpaid. And I said, yes, I am. It's fantastic you realize that. And they say, well, we're going to give you a pay increase of about 90%. I said, well, that's good. And it didn't matter what my pay was before. They were not going to give me a 5 or 10% raise. They decided, well, you've just proved your value, and so now we're going to pay you for it. A lesson that I learned, I had to define my value, not them. Within the next couple months, I was very busy in projects, going different places. At the time, I had a kid. I had one on the way, and this company that said that they were recession-proof said to me, Darrell, we're shutting down the entire department. We're walking you to the front door. Very interesting turn and event for me. I technically walked out the door. I was unemployed. My wife was at home with a baby and pregnant. She was unemployed. We just decided to buy a new house with the 90% increased raise that I just got. And I realized very quickly that I could not depend on anybody else to talk about my value. I needed to do it. So the next morning I started Candybox marketing. And I got on some phone calls, and within a couple hours I had my salary in the mail to me. I sold websites to companies, and I didn't have a website yet. But I continued to talk about value and what I could do for different organizations. I realized that the number one thing people needed out there was to be at the top of Google and popular online. And so I decided that's what I'm doing. The company has grown over the last couple of years, but simply off of this, that we want to provide value to our clients, not products and services. We're just interested in one thing, value. Every single time I hire someone on, we always ask them, like some people in the audience right now, what are you bringing? What is your value? What are you going to contribute? Last year, we started a company called Social Stage. I co-founded a company. Our first client was a little-known company called Fox Broadcasting out of LA. They produce shows called So You Think You Can Dance and Glee. How many of you have seen Glee? How many of you have seen Glee? Most of you? Okay, well, I haven't yet. But we produced their marketing campaign for them. And we went up to the biggest, we weren't the biggest company, but we went up and we talked continuously about the value of what we were doing, the value of Facebook, the value of social marketing, and we had ideas. We engaged 25 million fans and provided end-user value, and simply along the way, Fox Broadcasting just looked back and didn't realize what they had brought in. The main lesson that I learned is that if you don't make decisions, people will make decisions for you. If you don't determine your value, people will determine your value for you. And it doesn't matter as you go out as grads if you don't get what you want. It matters that you know your value. You know what you're shooting for. And as you go into those positions, you don't look at the job descriptions. We're not filling seats. We're not just trying to entertain the market. We are valuable people. Sheridan grads, we need to determine our value as we go out there today. A man named John Scully, many of you may know him, many of you not. He actually was the CEO of Apple, kind of, I guess, after Steve and before Steve. And through a lot of controversy, he has a quote that I absolutely love. He says, "The future belongs to those who see possibilities before they become obvious." Today, as you go out there in the marketplace, think about the possibilities. Don't think about the jobs. Don't think about just what you're going to get paid. Because there are so many possibilities that are coming that are not yet obvious to the marketplace. Companies are looking for value. They're looking for innovation. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is your values. And what I define values are is things that are important to you, your beliefs. Some would call it your ethics. And your values are as important as your value, because as you go out and you're actually succeeding in what you do, you need to realize that you need to be able to look back and know that you're doing it for all the right reasons. Just as an example, my company values family. And right now, we live in such a virtual world, we're able to do everything remotely. And at the beginning, I decided, you know what, for myself and all of our employees, we're going to be working at home. We're going to see our families a lot. I went to my dad when I first graduated Sheridan. I said, "Can I get a job with you, Dad?" He's working for a big company. I won't name the name. And he said, "Absolutely not, son, because it doesn't line up with your values. We'd expect 80 hours a week." And as we go out, we need to determine what our values are from the beginning. We've had this policy in our company for a while, and it's hilarious how some companies will look at us and actually look down at us. And we always say we look down and look at our kids and look at our communities and are able to participate in the people around us. If you don't determine what your values are in the beginning, they'll be determined for you in the marketplace. There's many deals that we've turned down during the years just because of values. And we look back and we're very happy not to have those customers. And the ones that have been attracted by our values, we've been very excited to have those. You need to define what your values are today and not sell them for the value that's on you. Sheridan grads, Canada is looking for innovators. They're looking at us to change the marketplace. If you're in marketing and advertising, as I was, it's changed in the last 5 years in ways that is spinning the tops of companies. They have no idea what's going on. They're looking to us to figure out the way forward. They're looking to us for the new ideas, the new promotions, and what's coming next. Being a part of your generation, I've also heard a lot of criticism. We've heard the different terms about, our work ethic, We've heard different reports, I've seen different speeches about what our value is. And for those critics out there that aren't sure what our value is, I have one piece of advice. Prove them wrong. Prove them very wrong. And for those who are around us today, our mothers and fathers and friends and family, the faculty here at Sheridan that believe in you, the Canadian government that's funded our education, prove them very right. Thank you.